Hey, fourth grade, here we are on the last day of our get together with Sign of the Beaver. I really hope you enjoyed the book. It's one of those that I think I told you before. If you were reading it by yourself, would be a little bit more challenging just to picture everything. And I remember picking it up the first time. I told you Mrs. Askins, the one that introduced me to it. And I remember picking it up the first time and I got into it a little bit and I'm like, okay, I don't like this book. But when I gave it a chance and read it again, which sometimes you need to do with books, I really enjoyed it. And so that's why I wanted to be able to share it with my students. So I hope that you did enjoy it. It's certainly a different kind of book. I learned a lot of new things about living in the wilderness, just terminology and just the way things were. It's historical fiction, remember the genre of it. So I did learn a lot, and I hope you did too, even though some parts of it were kind of gross. It was still a good book, I think. I hope you do too. I've got this pulled up on the back. This is the movie. Now, I have the movie. I have the DVD, which if we were together, I would be showing that to you towards the, in our last few days of school. But because we're not, you may certainly, this is on YouTube, so you could go to YouTube and get it. I believe it's also on Amazon Prime. I think you might have to pay $1.99 possibly to rent it. So just know that. The movie, in my opinion, is not nearly as good as the book. I think books are always so much better. But in this case, I really think the book is way better. The movie's just kind of slow moving, because there's sometimes where they're just walking and not talking, but it's still interesting to see. And if you've got to be at home anyway on a nice rainy day, you could see about watching the movie. Okay? All right, so I just want to review a little bit with you. So this, if you're keeping with our schedule, today is Monday, May 11th, I think. So if you're keeping with the schedule, this is the week when you are going to be working on your book report. Your book report's due Friday. You have to have a visual as well as a written report. I sent information home about that via email. It's also on your Google Classroom, the instructions, okay? So very important that you have a visual. You've got 4 choices on there. Look at the list, okay? And then, but also you've got to have a written response about it too. And I show you the rubric. I show how you're going to be graded. So if you follow those guidelines, you should be just fine. Now, if you're not going to look at the instructions, you're going to have some trouble. So read the directions, follow the directions, do what you're supposed to do. Okay. Also, this week, if you have not done so already, you need to take an AR test on Sign of the Beaver. Now, that's going to be your end of the book evaluation. Okay, that I'm taking a grade on it. If you don't take a test, you're getting a 0, and that's not going to look very good for your average. Okay, so you have to take it for that reason. You may also count the AR points that you get from reading this book as well, okay? Some of you have not taken an AR test. I'm worried about you because it is well into May now. AR, you've known since the beginning of the year that AR has to be done by May 15th. I sent you instructions on how you can do that at home. I sent that back at the end of March. So you've had plenty of time to get going with AR. I don't know what to say to you. I would light a fire under my little booty if I were you. Okay, so let's just review our chapters real quickly, and then I'm going to let you go get busy on your book report and taking the AR test, okay? Now, before you take an AR test, I would go back and read the chapter summaries that you wrote, okay? And actually, you know what? That is a great thing to do. You're going to have summer reading coming home. Miss Watkins is working on your summer reading list, and if you haven't gotten that already, she'll be sending that soon. But it's a really good thing to do with chapter books. Like after each chapter, just write a couple sentences down about the chapter. Draw a picture if you want to. It doesn't have to be a piece of art, but just something that helps your memory. And then that way, before you go to take an AR test on that book, it'll help your memory. You'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. It's just a great way to review. I really suggest you do that, okay? It's just super helpful. So chapter 1, I'm just going to read to you the summaries I wrote. Matt and his father build their new cabin in Maine. Matt's father returns to Massachusetts to get the rest of the family. Matt stays behind to protect the new home. Very beginning, chapter 1. Chapter 2, at first Matt feels uneasy. Holy cow, he's out in the wilderness all by himself. How old is he? 12. Yeah. As the days go by, he begins to feel comfortable and confident being alone. So just like anything new, you're uneasy at first with pretty much anything. I'm uneasy with it. I was uneasy about doing this whole YouTube thing at first. I'm still not crazy about it, but I've gotten a little bit better with it, so I'm not as worried about it. But he's beginning to feel more comfortable out there. Chapter 3. Remember chapter 3? He's not alone anymore. Matt has an unexpected guest, Ben, and invites him to stay for dinner. Ben, bleh. Matt is uneasy because he's alone. I mean, it's this 12-year-old Matt with this big old Ben. The stranger stays the night. I mean, Matt didn't ask him to stay the night. He just kind of did. When Matt wakes in the morning, he finds both the stranger and something special are missing. Do you remember what was missing? Gosh, the gun. What's Matt going to do? Do you remember how we were very uneasy at the end of that chapter? It's like, oh no, his gun's gone? What's going to happen? Chapter 4, a few days later, when Matt returns home from fishing, he finds someone or something has destroyed many items in the cabin. And we learn that that was a bear that got into it. At first he was like, Ben came back. Oh my gosh. But then he's like, no, he wouldn't waste all this food. And we find out that it must have been a bear. Chapter 5, Matt finds a beehive in a tree and gathers some honey to replace what was taken by the bear. Matt has an accident and has to be rescued by Indians. So he climbed up that bee tree and boy, did he get stung. Stung, as well as tripped when he was trying to run away from the bees and really hurt his foot. So fortunately, he felt like somebody was watching him, didn't he? And fortunately, somebody was watching him and rescued him, saved him. It was the Indians that we learn about in chapter 6. So in chapter 6, Matt begins to recover and feels he owes the Indians something for rescuing him, but he doesn't have anything. The Indian has an idea as to what Matt can do to help him. Now remember, before this, Matt was terribly uneasy about Indians. He wasn't sure what to expect, but they, I guess, had been watching him, realized he was by himself, and thank goodness rescued him. And so he's like, gosh, I kind of need to give them something. They've really taken good care of me. They've given me medicine. They've brought me food. But he doesn't know what to give them. He doesn't have anything. But Sockness, the grandfather, says, I want you to teach my grandson how to read. Chapter 7, Matt tries to teach Etienne how to read. He uses the book Robinson Crusoe to help. Neither Etienne nor Matt are happy about this arrangement. Remember way back at the beginning, Etienne almost had a chip on his shoulder. He's like, I don't want to be here. He just seemed too cool for school. Matt was kind of willing to do it. I mean, they rescued him, for heaven's sakes. And so he was willing to do it. But Etienne was just kind of like, I don't want to be here. But Sockness, his grandfather, was like, you're going to be there. I want you to know how to read a peace treaty so that we know what white men are saying. Chapter 8, Matt continues to help Etienne by reading to him. Chapter 9, Etienne shows Matt how to catch a rabbit and other animals like Indians do. Remember, he's like, you don't need a gun. Don't worry about that. I'm going to teach you how to catch them. Etienne gets very angry at some of the things that happen in the book Robinson Crusoe. Remember with Friday, the man that was a slave, and Etienne was like, nobody should be a slave. And he was really angry about that happening in the book. Matt had never thought too much about it, but Etienne was furious. Chapter 10, Etienne taught Matt how to fish using a spear. The boys seem to be growing closer. So Etienne is really starting to teach Matt more than Matt is teaching Etienne. Chapter 11, there are 7 notches on 7 sticks. So Matt's family should be coming soon. Matt meets Etienne's dog. Remember how he described the dog? He had like porcupine needles sticking out of him, and his ear was messed up, and he just looked like a mess of a dog. Etienne teaches Matt how to find his way in the woods. Remember leaving little markers here and there so that if he walked through the woods, he would know to look for those and make sure he was on the right path. Another thing Etienne taught him. Chapter 12, Matt made a bow and arrow for himself so that he could hunt. It wasn't very good, but Etienne showed him how to make a better one. Chapter 13, Matt learned how to look for Indian signs. Etienne taught him to be respectful of different tribes and their hunting area. Etienne showed Matt how to use many plants for cooking and medicine. So he knows to look for like the sign of the turtle and the sign of the beaver and knows that he is not supposed to hunt on those grounds. That's sacred ground to that special tribe. Chapter 14, Matt and Etienne finish Robinson Crusoe. Matt shared Bible stories with Etienne, and Etienne told Matt about Gluskskabe, which we feel like is like God to us. Chapter 15, Matt and Etienne went to see the beaver dam and ran into a bear and her cub. The two boys kill the bear. Chapter 16, Etienne invites Matt to his tribe to share the feast where they will eat the bear the boys killed. Now, remember, Matt was like, oh my gosh, I get to come to your tribe? He was just a little bit nervous, I think, but also just like, wow, how cool that I get to go here. Chapter 17, Matt spent the night in the wigwam, and when he woke up, Etienne walked him back to his cabin. Etienne told Matt how the white men are hated by many Indians. And remember, Etienne had a very good reason for disliking white men, because that's who killed his mother. Chapter 18, it's been 10 weeks and Matt's family has not returned. Matt finds Etienne's dog caught in a trap. Chapter 19, Etienne asked Matt to come to his village. The grandmother wanted Matt to come. Now remember, the grandmother really did not like Matt because it was her daughter that the white men killed. But when she realized that he had saved Etienne's dog, she's like, okay, I think this kid's okay. Remember, you can't judge a whole group of people because of what a couple of other people do. And so his grandmother realized that. Etienne and Matt played with the other Indian boys. Matt has fun for the first time in a long time. He was having fun just playing, just being a kid. Chapter 20, Matt waited eagerly for Etienne to come for lessons. When Etienne finally arrived, he told Matt that he had to go off alone to find his Manitou. Remember, he was hoping to go off and find his spirit, which made Matt sad because he knew, well, in ways. He was sad because he knew that if Etienne found his Manitou, he would be going on the hunt with the men. It would mean he became a man. If he did not find his Manitou, he would feel really sad for Etienne because he knew that this was something Etienne wanted. So he's kind of torn, with how he feels about it all. Chapter 21, Sockness and Etienne came to Matt's cabin. This is the chapter where I got upset. I got sad. Sockness and Etienne came to Matt's cabin and invited Matt to go on the hunt with them. Matt didn't know what to do. He didn't want to leave the cabin, but it had been such a long time without his family. I mean, were they coming or not? He didn't know. It had been a really long time, way longer than they said it would be. He hoped they would return. Etienne found his Manitou. Chapter 22, I was still upset. Etienne went to ask Matt to go on the hunt with him one more time. Etienne's like, come on, Matt, let's go on the hunt, bud. He said, I don't think your family's coming. Matt still refused, saying that he must wait for his family. Etienne gave him snowshoes, maple sugar, and his dog. Matt gave Etienne his special watch. Remember, his grandfather's watch. They called each other brother. And remember, more than anything, Matt felt like he gained Etienne's respect at this time because Etienne said, you know what, I would do the same thing. I would wait for my family too. And even though he wanted Matt to come, he would have done the same thing. I mean, how could you leave if you thought your family might show up? Chapter 23, Matt filled his days preparing things for when his family came. I mean, he's still hopeful. They thought they'd be back in August, and it's now December. He made special gifts for each one of them. Remember, he made a crib, he made some dishes for his mother, a doll for his sister. What did he make his dad? I forget what he made for his dad. Do you remember? I know one of you would remember if you were here. I can't remember off the top of my head. Chapter 24, the snow came and Matt used his new snowshoes. They worked very well. He felt independent and content knowing that he could take care of himself. I think that was one of his big fears. He was worried that if his family didn't come, would he be able to take care of himself? He wasn't sure. Chapter 25, Matt's father, then this is the last chapter. Matt's father, mother, and sister arrived. They had been very sick, and it took them a long time to travel to Maine. Matt was sad to learn the baby only lived 5 days. Matt's family was very proud of him and everything he had accomplished. He was thankful he hadn't gone with the Indians. Because what if he had? What if he had gone with the Indians? His family would come and not know. They wouldn't know if Matt was dead or alive. They wouldn't have known. And that would have been very troubling for his mother especially, I would think. Um, okay. Oh, so you've got your plan for the week. This is it. This is the last week. So you've got, I'm not going to be talking to you every day. You're going to know now. This is your project you're going with the rest of this week. Book report, visual. You've got your special instructions for that, okay? A written report about it. Make sure you look at the special instructions for that. And you must take an AR test on the book. Plus, you should be taking more. Some of you are like way above and beyond with your AR. You're doing fabulously. Good for you. Others of you, there's a lot of you that today is, today is May 5th, I think. And I just looked at the scores, and there are quite a few of you that haven't taken one test. So I need for you to get on the stick, okay? All right, I guess this is it. This is it for my sweet fourth graders. I know you're going to be the best fifth graders. They're so lucky to have you guys up there. And I will see you, of course, because I know I'm going to owe a lot of you AR prizes. So when we come together again, we'll figure out a way to do AR prizes. I was just looking through them all, getting them organized, so that when we get together, you'll be able to get in and get some good stuff, okay? All right, I wish you the very best. Have an awesome summer. Be good for Mom and Dad. I think it'd be a good idea for you all to get on Lexia and Exact Path over the summer so that you can learn from that. We're telling the third grade to do that for about an hour a week or so. That would be a great review. You should have your login information for that. So that would be a good idea for you to do over the summer, okay? All right, I wish you the best. I love you guys. Bye.